This story freaked me out so bad purely because when you think of a haunted doll, you usually think of one of those vintage dolls that you get from an op shop or something, but no, not in this case. This was a modern, mass-produced plastic Elsa Disney doll. The final thing that this doll did made me feel so sick, and I thought that I would share it with you all. Hi, my name's Yasmin and I make videos about topics that are either scary or disturbing, and if you'd like to, then please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and I'll get on with the rest of the story. The Madolias were a regular family living in Houston, Texas, and for Christmas in 2013, Emily and Matt's daughter, Aurelia, received an Elsa doll from the movie Frozen. The doll wore a necklace with a large blue jewel in the center, and every time you pressed it, you'd either hear the song Let It Go or she'd say phrases from the movie. So it's a pretty standard kids toy, right? Initially, the doll operated pretty normally. It would sing its songs and it would say its phrases in English. You'd assume it would say it in English if you're getting it from Target, I guess, in America. But in 2015, the doll started acting really weird. Aurelia would press the necklace's jewel, and instead of singing in English, the doll started alternating between Spanish and English, which had never happened before. The family thought it was some sort of glitch because they'd never really changed the doll's batteries and they'd had it for a few years now, so they really didn't think anything of it. But over time, the doll seemed to completely forget how to speak English entirely and switch to Spanish 100% of the time. The jewel was pressed and she would just sing Let It Go in Spanish. Isn't that weird? But not only that, they'd switched the doll off and it would just continue to speak in Spanish and sing with nobody touching the necklace. Emily and Matt really didn't know what to think of this, and yeah, it's weird, but it was pretty clear that the doll was just malfunctioning. By 2019, the doll was now 6 years old and Aurelia was growing out of the toy. Plus, it was covered in scribbles and marker pens by this point, and it clearly didn't function the way that it used to. As part of decluttering the house, they made the decision to throw this toy out in order to make room for new Christmas presents that year. But when they decided to get rid of the doll, this is when things started to really ramp up with the weirdness. Matt got the doll and put it directly in the rubbish bin and mixed it with some other rubbish and just wheeled it out onto the curbside, ready for someone to collect the rubbish the next day. In the morning, they saw the rubbish truck come, pick up the rubbish and leave, which again sounds pretty normal. A week later though, the family had lost an item in the house, so they were searching madly for this item. I'm not exactly sure what the item was, but they decided to go into their living room, and in their living room they had a large wooden bench, one of those ones that you can sort of lift up and you put blankets in it. I guess it's like a blanket box. But they lifted it up and they found this dirty ass Elsa doll inside the box, on top of all the blankets. They thought it was some sort of sick joke, and the parents confronted the children as to why this doll was still in the house and why it was filthy and on their clean blankets. They were all genuinely confused as to how the doll got there in the first place, because Matt remembers putting it in the bin. It was clear that no one really went fishing for it in the dirty rubbish bin because no one really wanted it. So you're probably thinking, yes, this time the doll came back, whatever, it was dirty. Matt took the doll out of the wooden bench and decided it was time to really get rid of this doll. So he got a little plastic bag from the kitchen and he just put the doll in there and tied the knot really, really tight, like those takeaway bags. And then he got another bag, put that in the bag as well, and just double bagged this doll. He then took it out to the rubbish outside and he dug deep down into the wheelie bin and chucked it right at the bottom and filled the wheelie bin with their household rubbish. Then he did the same thing. He wheeled out the rubbish the next day and watched the truck come and go. The truck collected all the rubbish and they thought it was gone, but it wasn't. The whole family planned a trip to go away on holiday during this time, and when they returned back about a week or so later, Aurelia went into the garden and she said, "The doll is in the garden." Sure enough, there was Elsa propped up against the brick wall of their house. Aurelia and her parents were in complete disbelief, and they actually started to think that someone was probably messing with them and maybe got this like other Elsa doll from the store and put it there just so it would freak them out. But when they inspected the doll, They found that it was their daughter's doll. It was the one that they chucked in the bin. They recognised one of the marks that the doll had that was behind one of the ears, which confirmed that it actually was Aurelia's doll's. By this point, Emily was getting pretty frustrated and wanted to sort out some sort of resolution to the whole saga. So she ended up actually asking her Facebook friends for some advice. Someone said to burn the doll and that she should give it away to someone. She'd also met a friend online whose name was Chris Hogan, and Chris lived miles away. He lived in Minnesota and he'd never actually met the family or been to their home ever in the past. Emily said he was just an online running buddy, but Chris actually offered to take the doll off Emily's hands, and Emily agreed. Emily made her way to the post office to finally get rid of this thing. She found a box that would fit Elsa perfectly, and she put her in there, and the doll did something that it's never done before. I think if this happened to me, I would actually probably cry and leave the post office. I don't even think I'd send the doll off. I don't know what I would do. But the doll started to laugh for 30 minutes non-stop, and that was the final straw. Emily just wrote the PO box number for Chris's home down and sent this doll off. She didn't even put a return address on the package to make sure that the doll never ever returned back to their home. Elsa is currently strapped onto the bull bar of Chris's Jeep. He did mention that if the doll ever did anything strange, he'd just weld it to a steel pole and throw it into the lake. But the doll's not done anything so far, so I guess maybe it's done playing tricks on this family. This story actually made it onto multiple news websites, and being the curious people that the public generally are, in 2020 the family were contacted to get some sort of update as to whether they'd heard from the doll again or if anything strange had happened. Although the doll never really made it back to the Medolia household, they did say that weird things started happening in their home, like the TV turning on by itself, the doors opening and closing, but there was definitely no sign of the doll. Not yet, anyway. And that was the story of the haunted Elsa doll. If you enjoyed that, then I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. I will be posting every single week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.